Thank you, Dr. Murthy, and I'd particularly like to thank
the African Union for hosting, and for ZhaoJing for hosting this as well. 我的中文话都是跟ZhaoJing学的。So, the topic we're supposed to be covering natural resources and health, and I'm taking natural resources as a proxy for energy, because that's an industry that I've been working in for some time. And at first I thought, well, what's the real connection here? Healthcare and natural resources energy are the two largest global industries. But there's also a connection because traditional energy production, I would say, is not clean energy. It's fossil fuels and it's dirty. And the people who suffer the most from this, I would argue, are rural women. For places that are off the grid, like I think Myanmar might be 70% of the population doesn't have access to electricity. It's the women who have to go collecting fuel. Tara Abraham pointed out that rural women can spend 400 plus hours a year just looking for water. And I think something similar is true for fuel. Aside from working on energy, I spend a lot of time in China. And I think China is a very good case study for what can be done as far as shifting from dirty energy, fossil fuels to clean energy. China, as we all know, has enjoyed rapid industrialization, but there have been some downsides to that in terms of environmental impacts. Bad ground, bad water, bad health. What has China done? Well, China has really rolled out in a big way the shift to renewable energy. And I'd like to take the example of solar photovoltaic technology, which is coming from Bell Lab, 70-year-old technology. Dr. Liu, who's going to be speaking later, spent a lot of time at Bell Lab. But until 15 years ago, photovoltaic was a very niche technology because it was expensive. There was no market for it. There were a few companies in Germany and Japan making solar panels, but the market was tiny. It was more than $10 a watt. Then about 15 years ago, Germany instituted a feed-in tariff to encourage green energy, and the market started to ramp up. And Chinese companies, they took a look at this market and they said, we can do that, we can make these solar panels. And now almost all solar panels are made in China. Prices have collapsed. When I got involved in the industry 10 years ago, I'm on the board of Jinko Solar, which is the world's largest solar panel manufacturer. Solar panels cost about $2 a watt. Then everybody said, we want to grow our market share, let's double our capacity. And suddenly, we were in a world with 60 gigawatt of supply and 30 gigawatt of demand, and prices collapsed to less than 60 cents in 1 year. Now we're at grid parity. Subsidies are no longer needed. And China is both producing most of the solar panels in the world and using maybe 30–40% of them. So what lessons can we take from this experience, and what other countries can learn from this? The lessons that I take, Mark Andreessen, who's the founder of Andreessen Horowitz, a Silicon Valley venture capital firm, pointed out that software is eating the world. And we're seeing how almost every industry is becoming an information industry. In natural resources, we see it in fracking. With renewable energy, we're seeing a big shift, because for traditional energy production, for utilities, you have very low fixed costs and very high variable costs. Think about a coal-fired or gas-fired power plant. It's not expensive to build a plant, but you do have to buy fuel over the 20, 30-year useful life of the plant. Whereas for wind and solar, the fuel is free, but all the cost is upfront. Well, what's the implication of that? Well, first of all, for countries, developed countries, which already have a utility grid, there's going to be a massive investment required to shift them from the fossil fuel grid to a renewable energy grid. But for countries that are off the grid, there's a great opportunity to leapfrog. For something like Myanmar or other underdeveloped countries, they can go directly to distributed generation. Another example of leapfrogging technologies is what we've seen in China in rail locomotives. They went from steam to electric without stopping at diesel. We're seeing it in China with the emphasis on electric vehicles, which are much less polluting. Western companies, European companies have been doing cars based on internal combustion engines for over 100 years. Those engines are really hard to get right. Chinese have, I think, struggled to be successful making traditional internal combustion engines. Electric vehicles are much simpler, so it makes perfect sense for China to be doing this. So thinking about the 7 targets for the natural resource SDG, we had 7 targets. And to me, this all seems very achievable. We don't need to create new technologies. We need to implement existing technologies, which is very much what Peter was saying. You know, it reminds me, 5 years ago, there was a little bit of an intellectual battle between Bill Gates and Jiggershaw, right? Because Bill Gates was saying, you know, we have to deal with this problem of energy poverty. So many people in the developing world lack access, and if we have to use fossil fuels to get there, that's the cost we have to bear. And Jiggershaw, he said, no, we don't have to give it up because renewable energy is now competitive. We just have to implement. As I said, there's a lot of cost up front to instituting renewable energy systems. Fortunately, interest rates are at all-time lows. We have negative interest rates in several countries. So we can borrow the money we need and get paid for borrowing it. So I think we are on the cusp, as Peter said, this is the year. This is when it's happening. And I think we can all do this together, and I appreciate all of your contribution to this effort.
Thank you so much.